Cheers. Today, this video is reviewing a freight scam that's costing truckers thousands and putting lives at risk. Well, it really is something that's not talked about enough. Till now, that is. But do you guys believe that the current hiring practices that exist in the industry adequately ensure that driver competency and safety is first and foremost? We're going to discuss that by two stories in the news recently. We're going to discuss the gaps on how we can actually make trucking great again. There's a story that demonstrates the need for better practices in how we vet our drivers, both as individuals and as independent contractors. So I'm going to ask you, where do we draw the line? That and more coming up on today's Truckin' Frontlines.
From Truckin City Central Command, you are on the front lines. Truckin' News.
The semi-truck driver accused of causing that deadly crash on Highway 285 this week, now under arrest.
Cutting edge opinion.
And we will make trucking great again.
Built for truckers
You should be hauling that freight based on what works for you.
by truckers.
Remember, get them done.
Featuring
I think trucking is a very good career.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Majority of the blame is the companies.
And we don't do it just for us and our families. We do it for you guys.
hosted by the El Rushbo of Truckin' News, Boss Man.
Greetings, truck lovers, truth seekers, and all who are part of this wonderful industry. From deep inside the collaborative think tank for advanced trucking journalism, I bring you Truckin' Frontlines. I am your commander-in-chief in the United States of Trucking, and I'm bringing you the show with what I call the second voice. Yep, you are the second voice of trucking. If you're new here, I'm Boss Man. I'm a trucker by day, and I'm creative communicator by night. That's what I call myself. I'm bringing you stories from the left and from the right, and I raise the bar on ways in which we can make trucking great again. I do this by virtue of news stories. We see them all the time. We're out there, we live it, we work it, we dream it. We are trying our best to make trucking what it should be for us, for others, and for everyone around us. And for some time now, I've noticed that there's a wide opinion about people thinking that we're losing money every single day because of shady brokers, backdoor deals, and double brokering scams that never went away. Yeah, they're supposed to be illegal, and there's not really supposed to be a right way of doing double brokering, but you know what? There's so many loopholes. Really, they get away with it anyway. So while they get rich off the backs of hardworking drivers like you and me, the industry turns a blind eye, leaving you to deal with the fallout. There's a dangerous loophole out there that brokers are using to dodge accountability, and I want to highlight one of those tonight. I want to give you real examples of how major companies like both Amazon and FedEx have been caught up in this, and I've really put a bad image on this industry. So tonight I want to highlight the first of two stories. February 11th, 2021, Fort Worth, Texas. Ice-covered roads. Everybody heard about the pileup that happened down on I-35. Over 130 vehicles in a catastrophic pileup. 6 lives lost total, dozens injured. And smack in the middle of this disaster, a truck that had really no business being on the road that day. A truck that was actually double brokered in the hands of an undertrained and unprepared driver.
You've seen the images of the FedEx truck smashing into the pileup, the impact killing Tiffany and another motorist named Mike Wells.
Well, good morning to you.
It's February 11th, 2021.
These roads have been pre-treated.
Just after 6 a.m.
There is still a concern, though, for that morning commute.
Black ice covered the roadways. There's a pileup in the toll lanes of Interstate 35 involving more than 130 cars and trucks. Tiffany and Mike Wells' cars had rear-ended the vehicles in front of them.
We saw all these vehicles and we saw the FedEx truck hanging over the edge.
Dashcam video from inside the truck carrying the FedEx shipment showed the driver increasing his speed up the incline to 66 miles an hour. A minute later, the truck crashed first into Jared's car and then into Wells's. This was the aftermath. There's Jared's car and Mike Wells' truck underneath the semi.
Now take a look at that, folks. Okay. That right there is not just wreckage. Okay. That's not just a tragic accident. That's what happens when brokers play hot potato with your freight. When the guy that's actually driving that truck with that load is 3 steps removed from the contract that put him there. FedEx thought they hired somebody legitimate. The carrier that handled the load handed it off to someone else without telling FedEx. And that driver, he had no business being in those conditions to begin with. Then as you continue reading or listening to the rest of this clip, I want you to remember something, okay? When you're dealing with high stakes brokers like what we're talking about here, you're dealing with people that should know better, to actually contract with people that have the ability to vet trained and responsible people like you and me. We're out here every day. We see it all the time. We look around truck stops. We see people that just have no clue on how to do their job. 3 days ago, I watched somebody take over an hour and a half back into a dock door with actually no clue on how to manipulate that trailer. That was simply just trying to get into a dock door. Thankfully, they had no one around them, and they had plenty of willing and able people to help them. But that's just but an example. And this right here, what you're seeing right here to the right of me, is the most tragic side of that.
But what you haven't heard is the story of that FedEx truck and how its driver wasn't authorized to drive for FedEx.
FedEx was not watching who's coming in and out of their own gates. And when you have that happen, you end up with motor carriers that are unsafe, and you end up with drivers that are unsafe.
Let's talk about that FedEx truck that was in the toll lane that morning. A broker hired a company named Iso Rizzo to transport the FedEx shipment from Troutdale, Oregon to its facility in Fort Worth. The broker's contract with Iso Rizzo strictly prohibited hiring another carrier to transport the cargo.
Correct. Okay.
Instead, testimony shows Iso Rizzo hired a hidden carrier called Simon Express to move the shipment. Months earlier, federal regulators sent a letter to Simon Express saying, our records show significant noncompliance in the area of unsafe driving.
This driver had had a wreck just 2 months before this in the ice.
The driver testified that he did not receive hands-on winter weather training. In depositions, FedEx supervisors testified how St. Lot was able to pick up the shipment.
We're not reviewing the driver's license, and we're not reviewing the DOT number.
The only thing we have is a reference number.
Has FedEx indicated that they've changed anything?
Nothing's been changed.
St. Lot testified that he no longer drives 18-wheelers.
Man, how about that? Just that fast. He had the accident. He had the problem. He had the tragedy. And now he's not even in the industry anymore. But I think what really is stark in this, and I think what really moves me to make you guys aware of this very tragic story, is the simple fact that no one knew what was going on until the moment the bumper hit the bumper. Until the moment of the pileup, nobody had any idea what was going on. And what's even more stark and even more scary is things like this still continue to happen. The very account that one person made working for FedEx, he said at the very end, all we look at is reference numbers. That very thing still happens today. I can't tell you the countless amount of people that I dealt with working for Landstar, which I don't work for anymore. I used to go into places like FedEx and like, the big guys like Amazon and all those, where I'm going to get to that story as well. But these people, all they look for is just specific numbers and specific things. They don't care who you are. They may make it look good and check your driver's license, but are they really looking at that license? Are they really looking at your MVR? Are they really considering what kind of a safety record you as an individual person? No, they don't. All they're doing is they're going off the carrier that sent you there. And if that carrier doesn't care, you're just nothing but a cog in the wheel. And the worst of it is people like those two individuals that lost their lives are the casualties in all this. So this accident may have happened 4 years ago, 5 years ago, back in 2021. But the repercussions of it are still being felt today. So my question to you is, have you dealt with situations that you felt like, gee, these brokers just don't care? How often do we get into these situations where we're thinking, do these people really know what I am? I could be a criminal. I could be anybody. Call this number, 860-785-3547. Tell me, do you feel safe out there? Do you feel like you're actually being looked after or vetted properly? If you're a driver, if you're an owner-operator. Do you think shippers and brokers care who really hauls their freight, or do you think they just want the cheapest truck? Let me know in the comments. Tell me if you're watching this on a replay. Give me a comment below. Let me know what you think. Because you know what? This problem isn't as simple as everybody likes to paint it. Everybody says today, oh, well, there's no double brokering. No, there is. It happened then, and it's still possible today. I want to bring up a couple of panelists because I got a couple of people that are actually with us today. I want to see what you guys think. Because you know what? I'm actually concerned. If people like FedEx and Amazon can actually get by and not check everything the way they should, it leaves me with a lot of concern. Larry, what do you think? You worked for a company that, dealt with a lot of the same freight I currently deal with, which is refrigerated freight. So I'm sure you dealt with a lot of the bigger guys. Did they really take the time to see who you were and what you were capable of, or did they just process you like you were a number?
Pretty much just a person in a seat.
Yeah.
You think it how do you get to know someone in 2 days?
Do you think it fell more back on the carrier that you worked for, or do you think that, it was just, you were just a number?
Just a number.
Yeah. No. That's really a shame when you think about it.
That's anything. That's all these big mega carriers do anymore is just to fill a seat. They don't care who's behind the wheel of it.
Right. To me, it's not just about one accident. This is about a system that allows this to happen. Think about it. A system where brokers rake in profits while truckers get hung out to dry. A system where companies say, not my problem, which is exactly what FedEx did in lieu of this. The investigation figured things out, and we've now seen what the result is. But the system was what it was leading up to it. And that to me is a breakdown. That to me says, well, the few times I was with Landstar, I went into a FedEx facility and I had specific instructions from the broker. And I was led to believe that if I didn't represent myself right, or say the right broker name, or do the right thing when I walked through their front gate, I wasn't getting a load. I was actually kind of unnerved. And I don't remember, honestly, if that was after 2021. So I can't say whether one had something to do with the other. But I'm sitting here thinking, and this, by the way, this isn't just the story from back in 2021. This is something that's up. It's linked down below. Look under the description. You'll see the link for the story. It's recent. They're talking about it now. And, this isn't the only time it's happened. Honestly, I'm going to cover a story in just a minute where it's happened in other detail and in a worse way. But think about it. If you can just walk into any place like an Amazon or a FedEx and just present them a certain number and walk out, doesn't that make you kind of wonder about the freight you're being asked to haul? How many times do you leave their facility with, quote, high value freight, and do they really know where you're going? Do they really know what you're doing? I know, Thumper, you do a lot of, grain and cattle, so you really can't think much, but think about it. The same thing could happen with the cattle you haul.
It does.
And claim to be anybody and really get away with bloody murder.
It happens a lot.
Yeah.
It really does. Yeah. You sit here and think, like, good example. We hire on owner operators. They got to run under their own authority, but they pull our trailers. So, that's a little different. They're technically, if you sit and think about it, the way we do it, we're double brokering too, but they're leased onto us. So there's that little loophole around that. But there are companies out there, I'm not going to say names, that do sit there and say, oh, I have 10 trucks ready to go. And in all reality, they only own 2. And then they turn around and call like my company or somebody else's company. And, they take a percentage out of it, just like, and that's double brokering in the cattle world.
But in the respect of what you're talking about, though, there is a working relationship that's already going on there. There is something where you're familiar with the people you're doing business with.
Yes and no,
okay,
but
let's not confuse double brokering with what you're describing, okay? Because there is a third-party brokering system out there in place, and that's legit, and that works. C.H. Robinson does it all the time.
Yeah, but there is what I do. We're under a contract for a company, but there are load boards for the cattle industry and the grain industry. So double brokering does happen.
Right. Yeah.
But what I do, it doesn't really fall under that because it was like you just explained. But there is load boards, spot market loads out there where they are double brokeraged.
Yeah. There are, and it happens all the time. Like I said earlier, C.H. Robinson does it all the time, and all the major brokerage houses technically do it because you, as a carrier, 9 times out of 10, unless you have, like you right now, Thumper and Larry, both of you guys have direct customers. I even have direct customers and people I haul for. And every so often, I have to go out on the spot market, find a load. And I don't do it just by simply wishing it in place. I've got to find a broker that has that load. That technically, when you think about it, is a 3PL situation because a shipper contacts a broker. Okay, a broker posts a load, and then you, as a trucker, you have to find it. You have to get it. You have to agree to haul it. So you're that first position. You are that first person. Now, instead of giving it to you directly, that broker then turns around and sells it to someone else. That's where the double brokering is. But where you and I were just talking a minute ago, that's different because we're actually dealing with somebody mainly responsible for freight. They've got no hands on the truck. They've got no hands on the freight. They're the middleman. And that happens all the time. It's just when the extra people get involved, that's when it becomes hinky. Let me take a minute. Millie Crockett, welcome to the show. Thank you for chiming in, saying good evening, everyone. Hope you enjoy the show. If you're new, I've got a few viewers watching. Take a minute, comment down below. Let me know if you've been exposed to something you thought was a little fishy. We want to hear from you, especially if it deals with FedEx or Amazon, because those are the 2 stories we're dealing with tonight. If you haven't already, take a moment, subscribe. definitely take a moment and look at these four nice people here. They are great in their respective fields and experience. Give them a like and follow as well. So at the end of the day, what we want to make sure of is at the end of the day, what goes on between the shipper asking to transport the freight and the actual driver, person in the seat. There's a modicum of safety, some vetting going on, because I don't think there's enough of that. Just based on that video I just showed, I don't think there's enough. I really don't.
Well, that's kind of what I was just gonna say too. I mean, you in that story, kind of what I got out of it is, yes, they're not paying attention who's doing what. It's the double brokeraging, but in my eyes, the whole main part of that story was there was a guy. Granted, yes, Texas doesn't really get a whole lot of bad weather like we do. I mean, that's just that. But I'm from up in the northern states here, but that's besides the point. Is the point that I got from the story is he didn't have training for winter driving, and now he's no longer in the industry. And he could have been a hell of a freaking driver too. I don't know, or he could have been new. I don't know. But the point is we lost somebody in the industry because he ended up taking not one but two lives, and now he doesn't even want to look at a truck. There's something wrong there. I mean, the training. I've said it many times. I've said it many times.
That was where I was going to go. Yeah, training is another thing, and that's what I'm going to highlight on my next story. Because training, even in this story with FedEx, 16 months in the industry, and the man had never taken any courses or any training whatsoever of how to drive in winter weather. He had no idea how to look for signs of black ice, how to look for signs of slippery conditions, how to slow it down. Man speeding up on an incline when he shouldn't have even been doing half that speed. He should have been doing a lot slower. So obviously all the signs were there. He knew he was in hot water. He knew it. He had to have known. That had to have been why he left the industry to begin with. He knew he was inadequately trained. How many people out there do you think, Poet, you're a good person to ask this question. How many people out there do you think are inadequately trained to deal with the kind of weather you especially deal with up there commonly every single day? If you were to put a number on. I mean, there's got to be a huge
90%.
Yeah, and that's scary. Yeah. So what are some of the things you might have noticed watching that video? Did you notice anything that would have kind of set you off immediately, coming from somebody living up there?
Yeah, it reminds me of the bus crash between a guy that had a week's worth of training and got sent out with a B train into Saskatchewan and killed 16 young hockey players.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember that story. You told me about that one. I was disheartened to hear that.
He had no business being out there. Now, if I may, coming back to the brokering thing, there's a company back east called ET Transport.
Very familiar.
Somehow or other, 4 tractor trailer loads of extra virgin olive oil got ripped off via double, triple, and quadruple brokering. $1 million.
Wow. That's
and
a lot.
that's just in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. That's a lot. That is very, very, very unfortunate.
It's a high dollar load, right?
Yeah. Well, and that's the part of the problem. I mean, when you're dealing with high dollars, it tempts a lot of people, and that's what gets a lot of people in trouble. Let me focus on one thing for just a second here. How do people keep getting away with this? Well, my friends, welcome to the world of plausible deniability. Okay, part of what the first story I'm talking about and what this next story I'm going to start talking about. And I don't have any visuals on the second story, but it goes perfectly in question as, okay, there's a loophole involved, and the loophole basically comes down to how brokers assign loads, and they cover this overcapacity that they're talking about by using third-party carriers. Okay, it's what I talked about earlier. If a trucker complains The broker blames the carrier. Okay. If a load goes missing, the carrier blames the subcontractor. By the time the dust settles, nobody takes responsibility. Nothing's done to fix the problem. And brokers play dumb when it's convenient. Okay. Oh, we had no idea the carrier rebrokered the load. We had no idea that that happened. We only work with authorized carriers. These things are said. Meanwhile, they know exactly what's happening. They know exactly what's going on because money changes hands. And when money changes hands, you know exactly who's doing what. And then when the FMCSA comes knocking to investigate, they throw up some weak compliance policy in place and call it a day. And then when they really get, the fit hits the shan, as it were, they close up shop and leave, just like the companies in that B-roll video did. They decided, well, they couldn't handle it. So guess what? They're no longer in business. And that's what happens. At the end of the day, people take shortcuts. And it's those very shortcuts that I've decided I wanted to highlight in tonight's show. Those very shortcuts are the thing that is making our industry crumble and fall, because you know what? A FedEx shipment was handed off to somebody who didn't have any business having it. The final outcome, an untrained driver driving in winter conditions, killing 6 people. Okay. 133 cars piled up on a roadway. 6 people later, and FedEx tried to distance itself from that. That's why the story is back in the news today, because people are holding them accountable for the mistake they made. The mistake was they let anybody and everybody through their gate. The mistake was they didn't care who was holding their load. They just wanted it hauled for as least possible amount, and they didn't care about the results. So that's my personal opinion on this, and I think a lot can be shared. I think a lot of people feel the same way I do on this, but a lot needs to be done about this whole deal. I mean, a lot of recent news has been in hot play. I mean, you hear it all the time. Broker transparency. Okay. A lot of people have got a lot of negative things to say about it, but I actually think where there's smoke, there's fire. Okay. Broker transparency to me is not necessarily just a thing to get drivers more money. I think it's a thing to actually expose very things like what we're talking about right now. If there's more transparency at play, not just money, but with people seeing who's actually in control of the freight, don't you think that'll go a long way to solving some of these issues? Thumper, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, but then again, if midlife is watching, more regulations.
No one's saying anything about more regulations, because the regulations talk about something in place.
If we have all these rules and everything else, and they don't, how is that fair?
Exactly. It's another.
So yes, I'm kind of picking on him because of the regulation stuff, but if you sit and think about it, they should have regulations like we do too. But then again, you sit there and think about it as a business aspect, because I'm a business owner and I kind of think about everything. People got to make money too. I mean, and if one person can move the freight better than the other person, and this person's got the load, yeah, that's where the double brokering comes in. But there needs to be a stipulation where, like they got to do background checks. They got to look at the MC numbers and they got to look at this stuff instead of some. Okay, I'm not going to go down that road because it's going to end really bad when we're alive. But I do want to point out one thing real quick.
Sure. Right.
You see that lazy dog back there? He's laying on the catwalk just snoozing.
Oh, yeah. He's got the life.
He's content. He's really content.
Yes. I'm even going to give him the benefit of full screen. Look at that.
Yeah, there you go. There he is. Right back there. Just right on the catwalk, sleeping away.
That is the comfort. Yep.
Yeah.
We've got us callers. I'm going to put the caller up in just a minute. So just give me a minute, Griff. We got us a comfort zone back there behind you. So
he's loving life right now.
Yep. So yeah, let me fix my mic so we can talk to our caller. Caller, welcome to the show. Glad you could make the occasion. So what say you about this whole FedEx debacle?
Like if Supper decided to try to do something like that, they will put him over stuff and everything, try to get him vetted and everything, stuff. But a lot of these newer drivers or third parties, they just let them go in and they barely have any experience as the story goes. But
well, it's
crazy. It's also there's examples of third party or double brokering when you go through the delivery stuff and everything, and you don't ever get paid for it, and you everything off of the load.
Well, and that's kind of one of the things I'm about to highlight. I mean, because money is only part of it. But the idea of you put a load out on the board, and part of this broker transparency argument is perfect example, okay? Because Mother Trucker recently put out a video, and in that video, he was talking about a couple of brokers trying to expose others for no, actually, it wasn't brokers. It was an actual driver that was trying to expose others for outright theft. Okay. Because it's one driver on his channel. You'll have to check his channel out to see the video. But I remember watching part of it and thinking how crazy this was because it was right in lockstep with my show I was preparing for tonight. The driver got the load, was only offered the load for $1,800. But then found out through other sources that the broker was paid over $4,500 for that load. So this driver was pissed. And he was like, and that's only part of it. I'm talking about the training side of it. But this guy on Mother Trucker's channel was talking about the money side. So you put the two together, and there's a lot to be said for people not doing their part. Broker transparency is a complaint problem with a lot of people. But it's not the answer. It's not the answer. It's only gonna solve part of the problem. But
boss makes $1, I make a dime. That's why I poop on company time.
There you go. Right. Right. Okay.
Going back to the Midwest, and I seen one kind of going to Nebraska. I can't remember what it was. $1,500 miles.
$1.20?
$1.20 a mile.
No way.
Boss man, I just want to say something real. It's really hard to hear Griff.
Oh, you can hardly hear him?
We can hardly hear him.
Okay. No, it's not your fault. It's probably my phone, and it's probably the way I've got everything set up. Yeah, because I'm set up differently than normal, so that's probably part of the problem. So I don't know. I doubt it's you, Griff. It's probably my phone. So.
An example was seen that video with the on you asked they went to the
Hold on. Keep talking, Griff. Keep talking. Yeah. Yeah.
I will let me get like road for 45 bucks.
Right. Right. I don't know. Let's see. I don't know if that made any difference. I made one adjustment. I don't know if you guys can hear him any better. I don't know. We'll try this for a minute or so.
Boss man, I got a question for you real quick. Do you have your auto volume set up for your mic on?
Yeah, I got that disabled. I just got the maxed. I got it maxed out, and I got my basic sound turned on my sound card. So I think it's just all stuff.
Well, I was gonna say on the StreamYard app, you could go in there and it does automatic. Yeah, if you
Yeah, I
shut
turned
that
it off.
off, you
Yeah,
could
I turned it
actually
off.
probably. Okay.
Yeah.
Just a question.
No. I'm working these things out because I'm actually looking into a soundboard that has Bluetooth capability, so I can bypass this whole microphone thing. But I'm not monetized yet, so hey, it's a work in progress. What can I say?
That's all we could do is
Hey,
struggle through it. It gets better every
that's
show.
it. That's it. Well, Griff, I thank you for I. Hey, you burst my bubble. I was going to make that mention of that before the end of the show, but thank you. I appreciate
What do you
that.
say?
He said, "Congratulations on being nearly 750 subscribers."
Oh.
I'll tell you in a minute. Okay, yeah. I'm gonna have to tell them myself because apparently the audio is not very forgiving at letting them hear you. So I think it has something to do with the network because I'm getting an unstable network on my cell phone. So I'll let them know what you just told me, Griff, and I will make note and give you credit for it. So yeah, it's definitely something people need to know about. So I will definitely tell them that.
Hey, Griff,
So
why don't you just get a box next time you come in? Then we could really hear you.
Thumper says just get a box next time. Yeah, you can click the StreamYard link, my friend. There's nothing wrong with that, seeing as how you're such a frequent caller. Yep.
It should be like a credit card, frequent flyers rewards.
Well, no, what I'm saying, and I think what Thumper is intimating is by doing the StreamYard link, you can go incognito and you can treat the whole thing like a phone call. And we can hear your audio. We don't necessarily have to see your camera. So you can do it safely so that you're not violating laws. That's what I'm you can do that in the future if you want. Just click the StreamYard link and just make sure your camera's turned off. All right, man. Peace out. Be safe, and we'll talk to you next time. What he was talking about was in Houston, there's an issue going on where there are certain truck stops, and if he can forward me, Griff, be sure and do this at a later point in time. Forward me any links or information that I can repost on my community feed and or pass on to Mother Trucker, because that was originally he wanted to get a hold of Mother Trucker for this. And let people know that in Houston, they're actually looking at emissions parts on trucks. They're stealing ECMs. They're stealing, I don't know, a while ago, they were big on these computer parts that were inside the dashboards that if you have some of the newer freight liners would disable your trucks if they were removed and can be easily done. So that's what he was setting me wise to. So if you're down that way, be mindful and watch your six. Definitely be careful down there.
You want to know why they're doing that?
Why is that?
Because actually those computer chips, those ones that are like that, they have a lot of gold in them. And right now, gold is sky high.
Yeah, good point. Yeah. So yeah, they're looking for the precious metal, obviously. So yeah, that's a good thing. Good thing to bear in mind anyway. Look, one more thing I wanted to be a little bit wise to. I wanted to let you guys know is out there is on Amazon. There is something with Amazon called the delivery service provider. Okay. An Amazon delivery driver hired through a third-party contractor was involved in a fatal accident. As you can see here, a lady was taken away from us at the age of 79. This Amazon driver didn't really own up to his problem, and he continued deliveries after hitting this person and was later found at a later time with not only damage to the vehicle, but narcotics as well. Okay. Amazon, when they were questioned, we don't control the hiring process. Okay. Brokers, big corporations, and shady middlemen all use the same excuse. We're not responsible. Let me tell you what's going on here. What happens is some of these companies in question actually go the route of going through smaller companies that don't care who they hire. They don't vet you. They don't look at your MVR. They don't look at your work history. They don't look at anything about you. They just put you in the truck and they say, do the job. They don't take the time to take care that everyone that works for them is upright and forthright and doing the job they should be doing. And that's part of another story also linked in the description below the show today. You need to be aware of because it does go on and it's part of the same problem we're talking about in the first story. Okay. Everybody's wondering why this industry looks so lousy. Now you know why. You see two examples, two things that are happening on a routine basis that no one's doing anything about. FMCSA claims they're looking into it. They claim they're putting laws in place. And okay, who wants more regulations? Why don't we just do the right job to start with? Amen. I hear an amen in the house. Amazon DSP. The risks are just way too great. These people need to take more time, do more vetting, and do the job right to begin with. Anybody disagree with that? Let me know. Well, what about you, Larry? You kind of had some multiple experiences other than hurricane. I mean, you've been in the industry a while. I mean, what have you got to say? Speak up, boy.
Why is Amazon not taking responsibility for it when it's their truck or trailer that they're pulling?
Glad you asked that question. DSP, delivery service provider. Okay, that is a key title I've heard a lot about. Okay, what that means is Amazon has no direct contact with the individual who goes through the gate and picks up their load. Reason? Because aside from the broker that assigns whatever driver is going to get their load, there's a separate person involved. Okay, the company that does the providing the driver actually hires out with another company. Okay, there's a separate person involved. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 1, how many? It's confusing, okay? But because the Amazon, the big company, Amazon, uses something called a delivery service provider, they can wash their hands of any liability. They don't know Jack. They don't know Jill. They don't know Jack. They don't know squat.
They don't know
Fred. That too. They don't know nothing. They can't be involved in that. But the people that are involved in the accident, they're the ones that, when it happens, go out of business. Oh, and guess what happens? In case you didn't catch it with the FedEx story, the person that was involved in the accident is now running another trucking company. Same thing with the Amazon DSP. They're running other companies. They've since gone out of business. They're no longer, I don't know, driver involved is working, but I wouldn't want to, if I killed somebody, I wouldn't want to be in this industry. It's just me. Hey, opinions are what they are. But that's how they get away with it. They claim they claim no responsibility because there's somebody else involved in it. That's how they do it. So that answers your question. What do you think? I mean, does that kind of thing go on where you are? I mean, or do you Canucks handle things differently?
No, it's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
We have third-party carriers hauling Amazon and FedEx up here, and it goes on all the time.
Do you think
However, those big companies are being held responsible, okay, and accountable if stuff goes sideways.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, how can you not? Okay, I could be Joe Blow coming out with a 50-year-old tractor pulling an Amazon trailer. I go into ditch.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I'm gonna get right over the coals for that. but
Yeah.
so will Amazon, because what they will do is
Yeah.
they will take that trailer,
Yeah.
forget about offloading all the packages, they will go through it with a fine tooth comb.
Yeah. Millie's loving it.
I take offense to that 50-year-old tractor statement.
50-year-old tractor.
I
A 50-year-old tractor will run better.
Oh, I know.
I was just going to say, yeah.
Mine's a 96. It's almost 30 years old.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's not quite 50, is it?
No, but the point is, hi, Grumpy. But the point
Yes,
is,
welcome to the show, my friend. Glad you
the
can make
point is you can't blame it on the equipment. You got to blame it on the operator who doesn't take care of the equipment.
And Grumpy, my condolences to you and your family, my friend. That's a horrible thing to do.
Granted, Thumper, and I'm not saying that I want to get away from being held accountable, okay? But most companies up here, they want a truck that's no more than 5 years old. Okay?
No,
So
in Canada, you can't drive anything pre-emission. Simple as that.
that's not true. That's not true. Not true at all.
OTR, yes, your logging stuff, you get away with it.
Nope, you're wrong.
Let's hear the facts, guys. I'm bowing out because I want to hear you two talk about it. Poet here on my left.
I have many friends that are from Canada. Let alone, I have family from Canada who are truck drivers.
Mm-hmm.
And they had to sell all their old trucks because they are OTR.
Okay.
Because their trucks did not meet emission laws. I don't know the Canadian laws, but I've heard they're worse than California.
Actually, no. No, I disagree. It is the companies, okay?
Hey, if you're watching, you come back in. You came in and ducked out, so yeah, come on back.
It is the companies that decide what your truck you bring in. It's got nothing to do with the EPA or the Canadian equivalent. No.
Okay, so then explain to me why they were forced to sell their trucks. This truck right here actually came from Canada.
Okay.
Because they had to get rid of it because it did not meet emissions law.
Okay.
Right.
So
What
explain that to me.
Okay. What I will do, I will research that. Okay. After the show, I will start to research that.
I mean, if you give me a few minutes, I could probably get somebody in here that could explain it a hell of a lot better than I can.
Okay.
Well, I got about another 10 minutes of the show, so you got plenty of time, Thumper.
Actually, you know what? Let's plan that for another show so I can make sure he's available.
All right.
There you go. That sounds like a great future show. Put in the comments if you'd like to know more. I'd like to know more myself. I think this is a very challenging argument.
I tried arguing with him, and he actually put me in my place, and I don't know everything. Yep. I will admit that, but he put me in my place the other night because we were just discussing this stuff.
Yep. There you go.
I will look it up chapter and verse if I can find it in the federal regulations.
Yep. There you go. I want to welcome one of our latest and greatest to the show. Fate is in the house. Boom. Welcome to you, Fate. I'm glad you joined us tonight.
Hey.
Good evening. Good evening. How are you all?
We are
life great.
So what triggered you tonight, my friend?
Amazon.
Amazon. Okay.
Amazon has every right,
yes,
as a company to say, we are not a trucking company. We are going to hire an outside entity to take care of all of that. Just like every business in here, you're either an LLC, you're incorporated, you're a partnership. Why do you do those things? To separate yourself from legal issues. That's why you do it.
I got for you.
It's not.
One. The question is, to what degree do you take your seriously? I mean, seriously, your ability to do your job. I mean, because it's one thing to understand and agree with everything you just said. I agree 100%. But it's another entirely, as a company, to not care about the people you hire.
Amazon's not.
What happened here with Amazon, especially?
Nope, I think he lost service.
I don't know if it was him or me, because I've got choppy service. That's part of the problem I had with the call. Yeah, part of the problem with the call is my service. So this is on my end. So I apologize, guys. Go ahead, Faith. Say again what you were going to say.
Amazon's not hiring them.
No, they're not. The third party carrier.
Amazon doesn't have any. Like, this sucks to say.
Right.
Because you want to hold people accountable for incidents like this. And you want to, the reality is, I mean, I can't speak for Canada. I can speak here in America. Like, we're always attacking the big corporations. It's always the big corporations' faults. When in reality, like, the corporation did their due diligence by saying, yeah, we know nothing about trucking. We shouldn't hire truck drivers. We're going to hire an outside entity that specializes in this to hire these people. Now,
I'm gonna kind of play off you, Fate, because I totally agree with you. It is. It's not the big thing. It's like me fucking plastering. Sorry. It's me plastering my name on the side of trailers because I own the trailers, and I put everything on a load board, and whoever on the load board takes the job and they screw up, it's going to fall back on me because my name's on the trailer.
Do you know how many trailers are running down the road that are advertisement billboards?
Yeah.
Literally.
That's all it is.
It's free advertisement.
That's all it is. It's an advertisement. It doesn't show ownership.
On the side of my cattle pot, I'm going to put Trucking City Media, and we'll see how far that gets.
Yeah, thanks. I don't know enough of my own advertising, right? I mean, come on, yeah. No, and by the way, I want to thank Thomas Barb, who is one of my audience members. If you're watching this on the replay, great job on the shirt. Thank you for that, by the way. Think about it, though. I mean, shouldn't companies be held to the same standards as the big corporations? If you're going to hire people, do your diligence to vet these people so that you know when they get behind the wheel of your trucks or haul your trailers, you know it's going to make it there safely. And you're not going to be killing 300-400 people in the process. You know, Lord knows. I mean, 133 people crashing could have been avoided if the dude actually had some training. And
wait a minute. Time out. The driver didn't cause a 133 car pileup. All the inexperienced drivers caused that. Now he caused a major accident that took lives. That is his accountability. The video you showed earlier, he was not driving in the right conditions. That is a lack of training. But you can't blame him for the car pileup.
No,
he
I can't.
crashed into cars that were already
the news story is what it is. All I'm saying is, if you have the right training and you have the right perspective on how to do your job, you're a lot less likely to be involved in that stuff. And that's the purpose of the question: is shouldn't we take more accountability to that instead of just putting anybody behind the wheel?
In all defense, the appropriate amount of training shouldn't have been on the road in those conditions, in that state. I have 25 years of experience driving. That could have been me. You know what I mean? Like, it most certainly could have been me. I was just in some weather out in Pennsylvania that I had to pull off the interstate. The training is just don't drive. Like that. That's the real training. In the
FMCA, they tell you you got to use your best discrepancy. I can't freaking talk for some reason. on
It's
weather driving.
morning after the night before. We forgive you.
Yeah, I mean, we've had this discussion before with the weather driving and stuff. I mean, and if the FMMCA eyes, they want you to drive when it's sunny and 75 degrees and it's no wind, no nothing. They want you to drive perfectly.
Yeah, you can't always do that. I mean, but you don't drive beyond your conditions. I've heard it said before. You stay ahead of your truck. You don't drive behind your truck. The moment you drive behind your truck, you're done. You're good in the ditch. So.
In a cab over, you're ahead of your truck, but in a hood, in a truck that's got a hood, not like a hood, but a hood, you're 5 to 10 feet away.
I'm sure there's somebody in this audience that will contest. I'm sure you brought that up just to get him fired up.
Cool.
He's on your cab over, Larry.
Well, what's wrong with a cab over? You're the first one at the accident.
Exactly. What's wrong with that?
Yeah, right.
No, I was going to agree with everything Fate was saying about that driver because I've been wanting to say it for a minute now, but he took it away from me.
Sorry.
Boss man,
I mean,
behind.
everyone's blaming that truck driver for the accident, but if he wouldn't have got in that accident, there wouldn't have been no story there. He'd still be doing the same stuff he's doing now.
True.
Come on. And the thing with these bigger trucking companies, they don't care who drives the truck. And a lot of company drivers are scared to drive, are being told, "Oh, you got to go now. This load has to get delivered."
Oh, you must be talking about that video that circulated, got millions of views a long time ago with that one guy sitting in a driver's seat bitching because he wanted to stay asleep and not drive. And yeah, no.
No. Just on
what you want.
Right, you are. But when these new drivers come into this industry, they don't know they could tell their dispatcher or whoever's dispatching them, "No, I don't feel safe driving."
Well, I mean, it
goes back to the part of your pre-trip. If you're in bad weather like we are now,
yeah,
why not watch that weather report? Hey, I don't need to go anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, they can always reschedule the load. That's all I'm saying.
Except for our line of work, Larry.
Right.
Well,
once we're loaded, we have to go. I get that.
You know what, Thumper? Like, with all due respect, what you just said is the reason people put themselves in very, very bad situations. And I understand that cattle, live animals, and all that is 100% different than what I do. In no way, shape, or form should you ever tell somebody to do something that they are uncomfortable with. Ever. That is a recipe. That is a recipe for disaster.
No, I understand what you're saying, and you misunderstood what I meant by that, and
Right.
I totally agree with you.
Right.
When it comes to bad weather for us, if there's cows on the trailer, depending on where we're at, like from good example from Jamestown, North Dakota, all the way to Long Prairie, there is absolutely nowhere that you could unload those cattle.
Right.
And that's like a 4-hour drive.
Right.
Now, if say we pick up in Montana, like Miles City, Montana, we got Glendive, we got Medora, we got Dickinson, we got Mandan, and then we got Jamestown. And I've done it before where it was the middle of a blizzard, and I actually got to Mandan. I called the people that we haul for. I said, "I'm done." I go, "I'm white knuckling. I couldn't see the drop visor on my truck, and my drop visor's right up against my windshield." And I said,
probably couldn't even see the hood.
Yeah, you couldn't. But and I called him. I said, no, I'm not driving in this stuff. I went over to Mandan. I unloaded my cattle. I pulled out of the chute, and I slept for 6 hours, and then I loaded up. And granted, I was late for my dock time, but I made it there safely. There are certain areas that we are at where you can unload, and the cows can't just sit there. Like if you're not moving down the road, because a lot of people don't realize, even though you're going down the road and you got all those little holes in the cattle pods, there's actually no wind in the trailer when you're going down the road. But if you're stopped and you got the wind blowing and everything, that's when they get cold and bad stuff happens. But when you're driving down the road, all that air actually gets sucked out of there and they actually stay warm.
Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't know that. That's thanks for teaching me something.
Yeah, that's why, when it's, sub below zero temperatures, the cattle trucks, that's why you don't see them stopping very much. Because the more you're going down the road and the way those trailers are designed, it sucks all the ammonia, all the bad smells out of the trailer. And yes, there are some holes that are designed on a trailer to bring in some fresh air, but the body heat from the cattle and everything actually keeps them warm, and it lets all the bad air, the CO2 and all the bad gases out of the trailer while you're going down the road. If you sit there and stopped, all that
Mute your
cold
mic.
air, huh?
Yeah, I got it already.
Oh. But anyways, all that cold air, when you're stopped, it goes through the holes, and that's when cows get cold. And then there was that whole thing earlier this year during that first cold spurt where a guy had a load of Holstein cows, and they all froze. They froze standing up. They were taking a tow truck and pulling them out.
That's crazy.
Not right. And that's because he stopped for 2 hours to take a nap, and that 42 head of cows gone.
Wow.
So that's
I need to get
why.
caught up with the comments because I just noticed I got a few more in there. So let me get
So
caught
this
up on
might
that.
sound wrong, Thumper, and I'd be curious of your answer here.
Yeah.
I believe that's a flawed design in what you have to do, because that driver pulled over to take a 2-hour nap, probably because he was tired. And you know what? 40 some cattle died. And I'm sure that's a huge expense, a huge insurance claim. But it's a lot less than him falling asleep behind the wheel, killing all the cattle and killing my daughters on the road. So I would say that's a flaw in like what you guys have to do. I don't
actually no. So I wish I had a trailer in here to show you, but he screwed up. It's all on him. In the wintertime, we have either plugs or panels we got to put on the side of our trailer to keep them warm.
Yep, I've seen that.
And he didn't do that. His trailer was completely open. So it's all on that driver.
Yeah.
Because he didn't put any panels, he didn't put any plugs in it. Like right now, with it being as cold as it has been up here in the north, we're supposed to be 50 to 70% plugged.
Last week, Thumper, how long you spent digging out frozen plugs out of your trailer? I mean, you spent almost the entire night doing that.
Yep.
I mean, that's
cows
crazy.
knock them. That's why I prefer to have the sideboards, because the sideboards sit on the outside of the trailer, and then where the step rails are at, you put a wedge in there, and that sucks that right up against the trailer, and it keeps the heat in.
Yeah.
Now you can't. I see a lot of trailers that are 100% plugged, and it's kind of bullshit because all those gases and stuff can't escape. Up in Canada, their trailers, they're recommended to be at 100% plugged. But the thing is, with those Canadian trailers, your door sits, about that far open in the back, and then on the front they actually have sliders, so air circulates through the trailer.
Yeah.
And like the trailers that we have down here, not all trailers are like that. The trailers that I have, they don't have sliders, so we got to leave a couple of the big holes open so it circulates and stuff like that.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Not trying to take over your show about cattle talk.
No, you're good. You're good. I mean, that's what this show is, man. We talk, we talk my stuff. We all talk your stuff.
Hey, boss man. Boss man Larry's been trying to say something for a while.
Go ahead, man. I had him muted because unfortunately Larry and Thumper are both in the same place. So that feedback you're hearing, that's because they're in the same building. But go ahead, Larry.
But that goes back to where the pre-trip comes in at, because everyone thinks your pre-trip's just your truck, right?
Yeah.
They don't think to look at themselves. Am I fit to drive this truck today? Am I ready to drive this truck today? Should I drive this truck today?
And it goes beyond that. I mean, is the weather going to cooperate? You know,
I fail that pre-trip every morning, I guess.
I mean, yeah,
Hey,
you make a good point, Larry, because it's not only you. It's not only you, but it's also, are you capable? Is the weather cooperating with me? Is everything going to line up so that I can get where I'm going on time? You know, so kudos to you. Good point.
And even Thumper told me that if the weather's bad, don't load your cows until afterwards. So
yeah,
it's not like we run unsafe. Sometimes we run into that stuff while we're loaded, after we're loading, but you just slow down and take your time through there.
Yeah.
But
Ari in the house, she says, common sense isn't that common nowadays. It's sad. Yes, it is. And I assume that's my daughter commenting. Ari, God bless you. Thank you for commenting and watching the show. So let me ask, I mean, are we wrong in calling out this stuff? I mean, think about it. The whole purpose of today's show is, and this is really where I started and stopped. Where do we draw the line? It's abundantly obvious by everything that's been on these two stories and other things we're talking about tonight. You know, a lot of improvement needs to be had when it comes to hiring people, hiring drivers, who you deal with, who you actually hire on to trust moving your freight. You know, so my question is, do you think people that are in the business a while are taking advantage of those that aren't? Do you think that's a possibility, or do you think maybe I'm reading it wrong? What do you guys think?
You always read everything wrong.
Yeah. Well, if you're fake trucking, yeah, I read everything wrong. You know, just saying.
No, I mean, if you're anything like me, you're dyslexic, so you flip everything around.
Oh, God, I wasn't picking on you, but thank you for opening that door. I appreciate that.
So
anyway, go ahead, Faith.
No, I mean, in a serious note, I mean, your point of view on stuff is you try to nitpick to see stuff differently, and then we try to steer you on track is kind of how I see it. But also at the same time,
nitpick. Do I nitpick? Do I really nitpick? Don't even go there. My wife's in the background.
Your wife is shaking her head. Yes, I can see it right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, I mean, on a serious note, yeah, the stuff needs to be talked about because, I mean, if you sit and look at the major media, they just say, oh, this person did this person did that, and leaves it at that. There's no discussion.
You just crossed the line. Dude, you just crossed the line right there. You used the word nitpick and mainstream media in the same sentence. Do you realize what you just did? You opened a can of whoop ass. You really did. That's my job, dude. I do that. I nitpick what they say because it's usually wrong.
No, there's a difference. There's a difference, though. You open it up for discussion. I'm talking about the big names.
Oh,
they just say this person did this. This person lost his brakes and killed this many people, and then they leave it at that. They don't actually discuss it.
Yeah. Well, the story did go, and Fate brought this up. Congratulations to you for noticing that, actually. And I thought about it, but I thought, no, I'm going to let it go the way it is because they're the ones who wrote the story. But, you know, the story was told and the video produced it as if the fellow driving the truck caused the accident. No, he didn't. The fact that he was untrained and behind the wheel is what caused the accident. I know that. You know that. Everybody can see that. Because there was clearly already 6 cars in the roadway as he was approaching. So he didn't cause the accident. He contributed to it. But the larger point I'm bringing up is, you know, where do we draw the line? Where do we actually do what should be done in the first place, which is hire people train them correctly, and make sure they do the job they're asked to do. That's where the tonight's show is. Where do we draw the line? So, go ahead, Faye. Go ahead.
That's almost an impossible task.
Question you mean? Yeah, right.
And what I mean by that is I've met a lot of drivers over my years that talk a big game, that have the years of experience, that have all these things, and you put them in a position, and that 10 years of experience really equivalates to like a year and a half.
It twists. It twists.
You know, like
I get what you're saying. I'm joking.
But companies can only can only take the word of the person that is applying for the job on the application. Then they can only take the word of the insurance company that says this person is okay to hire.
Right.
And then if they're
there's records to back that up too.
Yeah, like
yeah.
Why do you think I retired, Fate?
What do you mean?
Because you can't
We
drive.
were fine until you piped up. God, no.
I always said that I would not go out with a bang, meaning a crash and take out some people. And it's gotten to the point where my depth perception is going. Okay. There's a couple of other issues. I'm not as quick as what I used to be. My reaction time is slow. Hang on. My reaction time is slower. And I decided that it was time to hang up my double clutching boots because it was time.
Right. You're making a good decision.
You double clutch in Canada?
Say what?
You double clutch in Canada?
No,
man,
we
you gotta float the gears. There ain't no double clutching. You stay north. That's okay. You go ahead and stay north.
I don't double clutch, but I don't use an automatic either.
Wait, he uses the clutch at all?
Don't bust on it until you've actually done it, brother. Come on now, stop. Automatics ain't that bad.
Anyway. I just think. Listen, it comes down to training, and that does come down to the companies. But like I said, I have met people that can talk a very good game, and they gain my trust on the ability that they can do what they say they can do. And then when they get into the belly of the beast, it's easy to see. It's very easy to see.
It is. It is very easy to see when you hire fakes, and that's unfortunately something we've got to get better at, I think. And
I'm gonna run now, though, guys. You all have a good night.
Have a good
one. Hey,
fake.
Thanks for joining us. I'm glad you be safe, my friend. I appreciate that.
So I'm sorry, I walked away for a second when you were saying you're double clutching. So it's double clutching. You're the one. You make my legs so much fun.
I didn't say I was double clutching. Okay.
Yeah.
I said they're called double clutching boots, just like your air slide belt buckle and your chain drive wallet.
Yeah, you said the word, my friend. You did the damage. So
yeah, well, what? I don't care.
You don't care.
Nope, I don't.
You
care.
wonder why you're retiring. Come on now. I'm busting on you. You know that.
Hey, you can bust on me all you want. Like I told you before, I don't care.
What's a show without picking on the friendly locomotive?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Well, guys, and I'm gonna make it real simple and real easy. Okay, we started this conversation with one simple, powerful question: where do we draw the line? And after everything we've exposed today, everything we've talked about on this show, It's perfectly clear. The line should have been drawn a long time ago. In Fort Worth, it's a disaster that never should have happened. Yet it did because brokers played games and people weren't well enough trained. And where Amazon's concerned, it's another example of a company washing its hands while somebody else got into the fire. And yet, the industry shrugs. Brokers keep moving freight, corporations keep raking in profits, and who gets left holding the bags? You and me. We got to do our part. We got to do what's right. So I ask you again, where do we draw the line? Do we do it with brokers that continue to just go rinse and repeat? Or do we as truckers say enough is enough? We need to start demanding real change. Thumper, what say you, my friend?
I mean, that's just it. Where do you say enough is enough? And I mean, you're the captain of your ship. You do what you need to do. And if you think it's unsuitable to drive or whatever, you need to stand for your ground. You need to be there and stand up for what you believe in is the main thing. And that's all you can really do. I mean, you're the driver. You have full control over that truck. You do what you need it to do. And just work hard at it. Specialize in something. I always say that. Specialize in a skill, and then once you master that skill, move on to another thing in trucking. You know, I grain and cattle. That's what I know. I don't know general freight. I don't know tankers, but that is something eventually I will conquer. So specialize in a skill. Do what you need to do. God bless everybody. EMTs, firefighters, military, and hopefully here in the future stuff starts looking up good for us, and trucking will become great again. Respect one another. That's the only way we're gonna do it. Help each other out. And we don't do it just for us and our families. We do it for you guys.
Amen to that. Gotta love that. Fact is, truckers, we have the power. More than we realize. But we don't use it. We stop hauling for bad brokers and refuse to accept loads that smell like a scam, call out the bad ones, and we start taking back control. Because it's our industry and we think it's time we take it back. At the end of the road when you help a friend, it's the beginning of a journey that can never end. It's the trucks that make the deliveries, but it's you that make the difference. Look for us next week. We have another Frontline show you really will benefit from. Till then, remember, keep it real, keep the faith.